Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to share part 3 of my journey in creating Wonderland Sculpture Park. If you missed part 1 or part 2, you may want to stop here and click the links in the description below. Please show your love and support by hitting the like and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. If you want to support Wonderland Sculpture Park, please consider visiting our GoFundMe. Link is in the description below. So let's get to it. I hope my story will inspire you. The next part of my journey starts in April of 2020. My house sold and my husband and I moved into our 23-foot camper on our land. Caitlin decided she was going to move in with a friend staying in the area. Living in a camper was quite a challenge. We had only used it a few times each summer and really never figured out how to use everything. We picked up free pallets at various places and made a path from where we parked our vehicles to our camper. We also used the pallets to make small platforms that would keep us out of the mud when it rained. Progress was only delayed slightly with the COVID outbreak, and by mid-May of 2020, the excavating of the driveway began. I took pictures and videos of daily progress. This was such an exciting yet stressful process. We only had so much money, and we planned on doing much of the finishing work ourselves. I did save a lot of money by finding and arranging all the contractors for each step. For example, the excavator, foundation, builder, electrician, etc. I was pretty proud of myself as I lined up all the workers. I had zero experience in this field other than renovations we did at our previous house. Again, I believe it was the divine plan that had things go so well for the build. Camping for the entire spring and summer was not the easiest thing to do, but I do believe I grew a lot from the experience. There were so many beautiful sunsets and nature moments that really helped in enjoying the situation. By September, my patience was growing thin, and we were close to moving in. Jake and Caitlin helped me immensely. Jake and I had stained the entire house within a few days. Then they helped me paint every room and ceiling. Next, we installed all the vinyl flooring throughout the house. Without all details complete, we moved all our stuff from storage and the container into the new house. It was mid-September of 2020, and I finally had a house to live in again. We completed installing all the cabinets, counters, doors, and trim in the coming months. At this point, the money had ran out, and we worked on things as we could. It had been 1 year since I had made my life-changing decision, and I couldn't have been happier with the progress. As we made it to the spring of 2021, all the interior projects were finally wrapping up. Now we had to get to work on the outside. Rodney built a small deck on the front of the house with a ramp for our elderly and handicapped dogs. For the balusters on the deck, we cut up small trees, stripped the bark, did a burn treatment, and installed them on all the railings. Caitlin and I stained it to match the house. Eventually, we plan on building a deck that wraps around the house, but until then, I'm grateful for the section we do have. Jake and I moved several loads of stone with shovels and a wheelbarrow around the deck to keep the dogs out of the mud, completing that area. Shortly after, we had a small area cleared to put up a welding shop. With the big machine here, we also had the shipping container moved closer to the house. I had hopes of a big, beautiful shop, but as building prices continued to rise, I was thankful for a 16 by 20 metal building kit. Rodney spent his days off that summer building my shop. Then, in late June that year, we had to say goodbye to our 3.5-year-old Malamute Zoe. Her extreme hip dysplasia had become too much. She had held such a special place in all of our hearts. That summer, I began to work on the sculpture park. Cleaning up many fallen and rotted trees, which had been taken out mostly by the ash beetles, was the first step. Many branches and leaves have been falling throughout the woods for years and years. Saplings, thick weeds, and bushes needed to be thinned so the woods could thrive. If that wasn't enough to contend with, we continuously ran into these crabapple trees with giant, hard thorns sticking out of them everywhere. Then after cutting them down, the stumps were harder than rocks, making it impossible to use a riding lawnmower to assist in the process. So with walk-behind mowers, weed whackers, and a pole saw, Jake, Caitlin, and I began clearing. Jake had just finished his bachelor's degree and was taking some time off before he started his career in economics, so he was over 2 to 3 times a week. Being a very strong and fit young man, he was amazing to have to help me. He was extremely motivating and hardworking, despite falling victim to several bee stings and thorns. Caitlin was called back to work, so she helped out as she could, and occasionally we had to call on Rodney to cut up some of the bigger stuff with the chainsaw. So much hard work all summer long. It was extremely exhausting, yet the progress was so satisfying. We worked on cleaning up and clearing until fall. Sadly, mid-September, our 14-year-old Shepherd Husky mix, Reese, fell ill of old age and passed on. She was a rescue we had the pleasure of having for 10 years. Her sassy old lady attitude was going to be missed tremendously. Now with no dogs, no kids at home, things were very quiet in our house. Rodney and I made it 2 weeks before we discussed a puppy. My mom didn't help the situation as she had recently brought home a chocolate Labrador puppy a couple months prior. After deciding we wanted a German Shepherd, it wasn't long before we brought home a 10-month-old puppy. I got to name him, so I thought Forrest was the perfect name. He was the cutest and sweetest pup ever, but I couldn't leave him to do the simplest tasks. He was like a needy toddler with lots of energy. Soon, I decided he needed a buddy, so within a couple months, we brought home another German Shepherd puppy. Rodney got to name her, and we ended up with a Forrest and a Jenny, aka Gump. Life since has not had a dull moment. They are best of friends and have become the center of my attention since. They are loving all the wildlife they get to encounter, and we are continuously working on their minor behavioral hiccups. So that brings us to the spring of 2022. I started working on cleaning up branches that had let loose during the winter months in the area we had already cleared. Then, my mom decided that she was going to downsize her beautiful gardens at her house. She offered up many flowering bushes, trees, and flowers to me, with the stipulation only being I come and dig them out. I was super thrilled. I hadn't done any landscaping, mostly due to the cost of it. It took me a month or two of digging them out, bringing them home, and then planting them. After we were done working on that, she decided it was time to move her sculptures to their permanent home in my woods. I was beyond excited, even though I knew this was not going to be an easy task. Many of her sculptures were very heavy metal, but worth every sore muscle it took to move them. Every trailer load they delivered, we placed throughout the cleared area of the woods and along the front of the property by the road. About 4 to 5 loads later, things were really starting to look like something was going on here on my property. And it wasn't long at all, and people started stopping, asking what this was all about. The more people I have told, the feedback has always been positivity and excitement, but there is so much to do before I could even begin to allow the public to freely wander the property. But one day we want Wonderland Sculpture Park to allow visitors to wander freely, embracing the peace and beauty of nature while enjoying the creativity of the art placed amongst the forests. So join us in the journey of making Wonderland Sculpture Park become a reality. Please show your love and support by liking and subscribing to our channel. Or if you'd like to contribute more, donate to our GoFundMe. Link is in the description below. Love and light to all.